Hey, this is Mike from Reelblack TV and the Movies You Should Know podcast. I guess we've all heard the news by now. Muhammad Ali, you know, hands down the greatest boxing champion who ever lived, has passed away at the age of 74 today. And, I don't think there's anything I could say that hasn't been said already, that hasn't been said by way many more people. Definitely one of the most visible, prominent, important people of the 20th century. At one point, he was considered the most famous person in the world, and as a result, he was likely the most photographed person in the history of the world. From his prime until his death. There's probably been more sports films and documentaries done about Muhammad Ali than any other athlete, and I just wanted to use this time with you to go over some things. I know that a lot of people are interested in checking out a lot of Muhammad Ali movies on video. So I just want to give you a guide to what I think are some of the best or better films about Muhammad Ali that you might want to check out this weekend or in the future if you can find them. Unfortunately, a lot of the DVDs currently are out of print, or because of the fact that he recently passed, they've skyrocketed in price. Now, some of the movies you can find on YouTube, but they're subject to takedown. But and I guess I should say, unfortunately, there hasn't yet to be a definitive feature-length documentary about Muhammad Ali. One, cradle to the grave, in his own words kind of thing. There are countless documentaries done about him, from the 60s into his prime, and then there was a resurgence of interest in Muhammad Ali very recently, with most recently with the documentaries Trials Muhammad Ali and I Am Ali, which I'll get into. I guess I should give you some things that are on streaming first, and then go back to some of the rare stuff. So right now you're watching us on YouTube. So there's a lot. I'm sure you can find virtually all of his fights on YouTube in some form or fashion. So if you just want to see the man, doing what he does best, you can search for his stuff. It's on YouTube. If you really want to hear what he speaks about and talks about, my favorite Ali, the person that I most recognize as my hero, is not necessarily the heavyweight champion, but the political activist. There are 3 really strong interviews that you'll find on YouTube. The first being Firing Line with William F. Buckley. William F. Buckley, the right-wing conservative, had a show on PBS for probably 20 or 30 years, and one of the episodes he devoted an entire hour to conversing with Muhammad Ali, and it is up now on YouTube. Check it out while you can.
I'd like to begin by asking Mr. Ali, what makes him believe that the same country that glorified Joe Louis would want to persecute you?
First of all, I would like to thank you for the brief introduction. You covered a lot of space in such a short time. You did make a few points that I would like to straighten up, and I'm sure you did this without knowledge of what you were saying. When I did not take the name, or just name myself Cassius Clay, this is an honorable name, Muhammad Ali, given to me by my religious leader and teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I would like to say that Muhammad means in Arabic, one who's worthy of praise is one praiseworthy, and Ali means the Most High. But the slave name Clay meant dirt with no ingredients. But
The slave word which?
Clay means dirt with no ingredients. Names have meanings in different countries. And I also would like to say that I'm not an apostle of the Muslim religion. We believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the apostle of Allah, God, but I'm only a helper and a minister of his. And I also like to say that you mentioned that when I accepted Cassius Clay, I disowned or disannounced my culture. Well, I did not disregard my culture. If I did, it was the white American culture. And I've accepted my true culture when I accepted Muhammad Ali, because this is a black name. Islam is the black man's religion. And so I would like to say that I would like to clarify that point, that I reclaimed my real culture, and that's being a black man and wearing a black name with a black body and not a white name.
Second most favorite TV appearance for me is the Mike Douglas show with Sly Stone, where they go at it, just in some ways, I think Muhammad is a little frustrated at Sly's obvious drug-induced haze, and they get into it.
Getting serious for a moment, we were talking about the karate thing, and I've asked many fighters, how would a top-notch boxer like yourself manage with a guy who knows karate?
I think.
I mean, if they did.
If a
They
boxer,
wouldn't fight.
if a,
Not Muhammad.
Well, let him.
I'll talk when he's finished.
Okay.
That's right. Always remember that. They would not fight. I'm telling you the truth. A good Muhammad and a good karate man would not fight.
Well, let him answer Sly. Just for
right.
how would
See
you
what I'm
manage?
White man doing that to me?
But I'm your co-host.
Yeah.
Half the action's mine.
As I checked this morning, certain parts of this interview, it was divided into 4 parts, and I think 2 or 3 of the parts are missing. But one of the things that often comes up in my Facebook feed are snippets from the interview from 1971 that Muhammad Ali did with Parkinson, which was a BBC talk show. And they devoted a whole hour to Muhammad Ali at the time when he was really at the peak. I believe he was still in exile, not able to fight at that time, and he did a whole hour.
Things are getting much better, but I always wonder when I went to church on Sundays. I've always been one to, I'm not just a boxer. I do a lot of reading, a lot of studying. I ask questions. I travel these countries. I watch how their people live, and I learn. And I always ask my mother, I said, Mother, how come is everything white? I said, why is Jesus white with blonde hair and blue eyes? Why is the Lord's Supper all white men? Angels are white, Pope, and Mary, and even the angels. I said, Mother, when we die, do we go to heaven? She said, naturally we go to heaven. I said, well, what happened to all the black angels when they took the pictures? I said, oh, I know. If the white folks was in heaven too, then the black angels were in the kitchen preparing the milk and honey.
Now, if you have Netflix, right now, as we speak, and things always change, so it might be different months from now or weeks from now. But right now, currently, there are 2 documentaries on Muhammad Ali on Netflix. One is the 30 for 30, ESPN 30 for 30 hour-long documentary, Muhammad and Larry. Larry Holmes was originally Muhammad Ali's sparring partner, and he was the person that basically had to fight Muhammad Ali. It was a very brutal fight. A lot of people say that it was, if it wasn't the Rumble in the Jungle, this might have been the one that really did him in as far as his later Parkinson's and things. But it's sort of it's a great piece. Passing the torch kind of documentary. 30 for 30 documentaries generally are top notch. So if you're on Netflix and you want to check that out, do that. Also, a great documentary that's on Netflix and Amazon. I think it's $9.95 right now. Streaming is I Am Ali, which was authorized by the family, and it came out maybe a year or 2 ago in theaters. What is unique about that particular documentary is that it was culled not only from rare footage, some of the footage I'd seen before, but what I had not seen that I Am Ali utilizes are rare audio recordings that Muhammad Ali made for his daughters back in the 70s, like either on little micro cassettes or answering machine messages. So this is a documentary that really gives you a personal glimpse into what the man was like, from the perspective of his family. By far, that's the most accessible thing that you're going to find this weekend if you don't already have this stuff in your collection. So I would have to say I Am Ali gets my highest recommendation. Now, if you have HBO, on HBO Go, there's a feature film directed by Stephen Frears called Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight. Now, that's a dramatization of the Supreme Court struggle for Muhammad Ali to reclaim his ability to fight after his title was stripped by, for refusing to go to the Vietnam War. We on this channel we talk a lot about whose story is it and the perspective. This is told from the perspective of the lawyers and the people that were involved in the case. One thing that Stephen Frears does that I think is really unique and great is that he doesn't work to hire an actor to play Muhammad Ali. He uses newsreel and documentary footage of the real Muhammad Ali talking about his issues, as a champion, was resistance to fighting in the war, and his perspective as an African American to paint the picture. So, in some ways, it's problematic for me in the same way that the HBO's documentary about Anita Hill disappointed me in the fact that you had Kerry Washington in there playing Anita Hill, but really the movie is just as much about the white lawyers as it is about the Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. So I think that's something that HBO tends to do. But it's if you're in for drama, it's worth seeing. But I would strongly recommend watching the documentary about that same struggle, which I'll get to when I get to my top 5. While we're talking about dramatizations, I did want to, you can't not talk about Will Smith's portrayal of Ali in Michael Mann's movie Ali with Jamie Foxx as Bundini Brown. Personally, being a fan of Ali, I think that the movie succeeds for Will Smith because he does a spot on almost mimicry of Ali. I don't think anybody could have done it better, personally, but I really wanted a story to be there. It just seemed like what they wanted to do is capture impressions of moments from Ali's life as opposed to giving you an arc or a story. So, if you like Will Smith, if you feel like checking out Ali again, as a collector of African American film, I think the greatest needs to be in everybody's collection, but it's not the best of films by any stretch. Muhammad Ali, is in his late 30s by the time he's playing himself, and he plays himself as a teenager. All the early stuff is not really believable. It's a little dated at this point, but we have to love the film because it brought us the classic George Benson song "Greatest Love of All." So worth seeing. It's essential to anybody who's collecting black film, but it wouldn't be my first choice of something to watch this weekend. In addition to the greatest, Muhammad Ali also did a couple other acting performances. He appears as himself in the movie Body and Soul with Leon Isaac Kennedy and Jane Kennedy. He was on an episode of Different Strokes. I don't know if you know that. And then there's the miniseries Freedom Road, which is better left unsaid. What I can say about Freedom Road is, is that Muhammad Ali's sort of miscast in the lead, and he's not really an actor to carry the whole movie. There's a really interesting clip interview that my friend David Walker did with Ron O'Neill talking about the making of Freedom Road, where behind the scenes Muhammad really was not interested in the project at all, and every morning and the roles that he was trying to do were too much for him. So every morning he would just say, "Give my lines to Ron," and Ron would have to suddenly learn 10 new pages of dialogue or 5 new pages of dialogue every morning.
Can't read much. Can't write much. I'm just a simple man. Come out the cotton fields. Come all the way to this convention looking for a few things. We all want to learning, and we seem to be getting there. But we want a freedom.
It's a TV movie, a made-for-TV movie. They capitalizing on Muhammad Ali's fame. The other thing I can say is that the DVD is severely cut. So, that's a message to the people at World Vision Spelling Company that owns the movie. Really should, even if the audience for it is limited to just streaming, it really deserves to be put out in its entire version, as opposed to the truncated version that now exists on DVD. So that's Freedom Road. There's also the DVD Through the Eyes of the World, which is fair, decent documentary. It's told, the angle on that one is Muhammad Ali's impact as a world citizen. You know, how his championship helped transform and empower people all over the planet. And, you know, decent, you know, not necessarily, I mean, if you can find it at a cheap price, it's worth owning, but it's not necessarily the best thing. Also on that level would be the PBS documentary, Made in Miami, which is an hour-long, I think, documentary where they basically talk about the time period from winning the Olympics to beating Sonny Liston for the first time, where he shook up the world. And a little avenue of that is that he trained in Miami, Florida with Angelo Dundee for the first time. So there's lots of footage of him, you know, with the Beatles. Of course, we've all seen that footage, and the story about him and working with Malcolm X and how they reveal his transition to the Nation of Islam is all included there. But you know, I wouldn't consider it essential, but it's decent watching. That's Muhammad Ali, Made in Miami. Also on YouTube is a documentary, very little Muhammad Ali in it, called Champions Forever, which is a documentary about all the world champions, black heavyweight champions primarily, that were around. It was like a reuniting of all the champions from around 1987, and they, you know, all of them give respect to Muhammad Ali in that documentary. So now I've got 8 movies that I consider to be the best documentaries so far about the late great Muhammad Ali. Number 8 is the documentary Ali, Brain, Skill, and Guts. And it was done back in the 70s. Basically, it was almost like a mixtape of Muhammad Ali's greatest moments in terms of, you know, his showmanship in the ring as well as his gift of gab. And, you know, if anybody wants to know what it's like to be, what Ali was like in his prime, Ali, Brain, Skill, and Guts is a great piece for that. Right now, it's going for a lot of money on Amazon. I'm not sure. Somebody probably posted it up on YouTube, but it might get taken down really quick. So if you have a chance to see it, I strongly recommend Ali, Brain, Skill, and Guts. There's a filmmaker, William Klein. He's from New York, and he had the opportunity to make a film in 1964 about Muhammad Ali, and then later in 1974 he did a film where he traveled to Zaire to document the Rumble in the Jungle with George Foreman. And in 1974 a feature-length documentary was made that combined footage from both those things, and it's really great. If you want to see what it was like at the time, I mean, it's very cinema verite. You know, the opening scene of the first film, they go past all the sports writers and they ask him, who do you think is going to win the fight, Liston or Clay? Liston or Clay? And they all have Liston beating Clay. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you know, I have to look at the film again, then they go to the streets where they're black kids and they're all Ali fans, if I'm not mistaken. There's also really interesting footage of the men that had from Louisville, Kentucky, that invested in the champ. You know, when after Ali won the Olympics, a group of white investors put money up to help support Ali's championship thing, and all this stuff is there and beautifully photographed in black and white. My number 6 movie would be Facing Ali, and Facing Ali is a great one in the sense, if you can find that, I strongly recommend Facing Ali. What they did, a few years ago, they went back and they found everybody who was still alive who fought Muhammad Ali in the ring, and they interviewed him what it was like to face that man in the ring and how did it change their life. They talked to the British guy who he beat after he won the championship. They talked to George Foreman, I believe, and they talked to, the best interview in the piece is with Joe Frazier, you know, so seek that one out, Facing Ali. You know, great double feature to do if you have the time and you can find the movies would be to watch AKA Cassius Clay followed by Ali the Fighter. Now, AKA Cassius Clay is a documentary done while Ali was not able to fight professionally. So it opens with him. He's got to make money, so he's doing a Broadway play written by Oscar Brown. He's doing college speaking, and he's allowed himself to be consulting in a computer version of what would happen if Ali were to fight some of the greatest fighters, including Rocky Marciano. It's great footage. I mean, Ali is always sparkling. And then William Greaves, the late, great William Greaves, made a really awesome documentary called Ali the Fighter, which chronicles his return to the ring, his fight against Frazier. And that, sadly, is out of print right now, I believe, and it goes for a lot of money. But, AKA Cassius Clay should be available for people to purchase as a streaming thing. And, I'm sure the DVDs, the prices are going up right now, but they were fairly available on Netflix on DVD. But hopefully it'll stay in print. Number 2 and 3 are two films that kind of go hand in hand. Muhammad Ali, The Whole Story, was a DVD put out by Turner Entertainment maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And what they did, they went fight by fight through every fight in Muhammad Ali's professional career and showed the highlights and the events leading up to it. So it's sort of like amazing to, if you're a true fan, you want this in your collection. Right now it's going for a lot of money. Maybe it'll come back in print now. Literally today it's like $200 or $300 for the DVDs. But if you're a true fan, you want to have this in your collection because it really is like the encyclopedia of Muhammad Ali, and it goes through every single fight. It has lots of rare footage of events leading up to the fight, and then the key moments in every major round in those fights. So Muhammad Ali, The Whole Story is my number 3. And the companion to that would be a documentary that came out in 2013 called The Trials of Muhammad Ali by Bill Siegel. Now, I'm going to put a card there so you can check out our interview with Bill Siegel from the Montclair Film Festival so you can see more about what the film is. But when I first saw the movie, like I said, I'm a huge Muhammad Ali fan. I thought I'd seen everything there was to see about Muhammad Ali, but there was a whole chapter of his life that was sort of left out of the documentaries, which was his fight against to take to the Supreme Court to win his right to fight, to stay out of jail for refusing to enter the draft. And so you see a lot of rare footage of just that 2 or 3 year period when he was unable to fight is chronicled. They talked to his ex-wives, his friends from the nation. Everything is a fantastic documentary, and it's pretty readily available. Even if you just, whatever you have to pay for it, it's worth seeing. Trials of Muhammad Ali, and which leads to my number 1 all-time favorite documentary about Muhammad Ali. And I'm not alone in this. And if you can't guess, if this is a new one to you, then I'm glad to turn you on. I'm glad to be the one to turn you on to it. And if you're watching this and you're a fan of Muhammad Ali, I hope that you agree with my choice of the number 1 movie about Muhammad Ali. It's When We Were Kings, from I think 1994, 1996. I should check these things out before I start these tapes. But directed by Leon Gast, and I'll point to the card here for our interview with Leon Gast, who also was responsible for the documentary Soul Power, which is the companion piece to When We Were Kings. But When We Were Kings is the Oscar-winning documentary about the George Foreman, Muhammad Ali fight, the Rumble in the Jungle, and all the events leading up to it. It was the first time I think that Ali or Foreman had gone to Africa, and Ali being Muslim, he just marshaled all the power. So and it really is the best footage you'll ever see. I mean, there's tons of great footage, but it's the best footage of that you'll ever see because it's Muhammad Ali in his prime at a crucial moment in his life where everybody was looking at him.
He was already very unpopular with mainstream Americans because he had joined an organization known as the Nation of Islam. And then on top of that, when he was called for induction and refused to take the step forward, he absolutely infuriated America.
He may have lost his title, he may have lost millions of dollars, but that's where he gained the esteem of millions of Africans.
I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
The sad thing is, I mean, it won the Oscar, but what was interesting was the film footage sat for decades in a vault, unseen. And they had some of the best camera people in the world shooting this stuff. And, you know, for whatever reason, it was in escrow or something, and it was unseen. And then Leon Gass finally got the rights back to it or whatever, and put this thing together. People saw it, and it was amazing. So, you know, whatever you need to do, go see When We're Kings. I mean, I strongly recommend all these great stories. You know, it happened this weekend, but whenever you catch up to this video, you know, hopefully it gives you good guides of things to watch and check out to help remember the man. I mean, this is 2016, and we're losing a lot of people that are not necessarily, they're not easily replaced. There's not going to be another David Bowie. There's not going to be another Prince. There's not going to be another Muhammad Ali. And you know, so, you know, as you take time to remember the champ, I hope you'll take note of some of these recommendations. And you know, if you enjoy the channel, please subscribe if you haven't already. And keep an eye open for our Movies You Should Know podcast, as well as the Reelblack podcast series with Charles Woods and I, where we constantly recommend movies that we feel are worth your time. So thanks again for spending this chunk of time with me, and we'll see you at the movies.
The era of slavery has been shown more, that era has been shown more than any other era. Why? And the reason why is because through film, filmmakers have a way of rewriting history. And if it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, by presenting it in a whitewashed way, they can show the South didn't lose.
I wasn't eating chitlins when I was in Africa. I wasn't eating watermelon when I was in Africa. Huh? I wasn't wearing zoot suits when I was in Africa. I wasn't getting my hair cut when I was in Africa. This bitch is my mama. And yours too.